Welcome to Point of View. I'm Pastor Josh Barnes. This is Justin Barnes and Jonathan Barnes, and we're going to continue with another TikTok response video. We kind of had put those aside just for our own mental well-being for a few weeks. We didn't do any of the adding thought to TikTok videos because you know what? TikTok is a dumpster fire of absolute trash, and it's really difficult to come out of there without your soul being affected. But we are now going to jump back in and try to add a little thought to some of these TikTok arguments. Today we've got on the docket a gentleman, if I can say so, who is supposedly claims to be a graduate of Harvard Law School and is going to school us on why it was so wrong and outrageous for the Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade. Hint. I don't think he knows much about the law actually at all. Justin and Jonathan, you've heard the video. Opening thoughts before we play it to everyone else.
Once again, Josh, dumpster fire of absolute trash. What else would be in the dumpster fire?
Like you're supposed to be adding
Isn't
thought
that
to
kind
the
of
TikTok
implied?
video, not to my opening monologue, okay?
No, hang on. We're about to get deep here because part of the problem with TikTok is it's people saying words just for the sake of having said words. And dumpster fire of absolute trash is feeding the problem. You're feeding the fire, so to speak.
It's just reiterating a second time. What was
Oh, the
Is it a
redundancy thing. Got
dumpster? Is
it.
it a dumpster fire of hot trash, perhaps? Can we reiterate
flaming
both
hot?
points?
It's a dumpster fire of flaming hot, burning trash.
See, I just want any viewers to know that if we're pedantic at nitpicking other people, we do it to each other too. So
All
don't think we
the
let each
time.
other off the hook.
All the time.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it most of the time when we do it to each other. Okay, let's get right along with this. This is let me give you the name of this guy here. His name is Julian Sarafian. I'm going to pronounce that wrong. Julian Sarafian, and on TikTok, and you can go ahead and follow. He says, this is actually a comment that he put on this video when he put it up on TikTok. The court should be insulated from public opinion to an extent. Oh, sorry, this is a response. So I'll save that. This is actually going to be a response to one of the things that we're going to say. So I'm going to save that. That was a response to all the criticism he's gotten, rightfully so, because this is a terrible video. Let's watch the video first, and then we'll pick it apart.
We are in a constitutional crisis. The United States Supreme Court has made clear time and time again that it will not rule in the will of the vast majority of Americans. Let me be very clear. We love to think that the Supreme Court and lawyers are some higher tier of human beings who are clear from bias and not politicians themselves. Well, I'm here to tell you, as a graduate from Harvard Law School, the same school that our Chief Justice went to law school at, all of that is BS. These are human beings who know very well the consequences of their actions by making a decision one way or the other. They're appointed by political parties that know politically which side the justices lean on. And right now, because of very, very, very strategic, read cheating actions by one political party in our country over the past 20 to 30 years, you now have a Supreme Court that does not at all reflect the will of the American public. What is the result? The world is laughing at us, as they've done in the past, because of these ass-backwards, outlandish policies that we pass here. Women and people of color will suffer. Why? So that we can bow down to religion, the false god of a belief that means nothing to the vast majority of people in my generation, but it means a lot to 70-year-old people in the South. We need change.
Let me just say right off the bat, none of us are 70, and none of us live in the South. So, we'll just put that out there up front. Super intelligent guy, as you can tell. He was a graduate of Harvard Law School, and he had to make sure that we knew that, which actually just makes his school look pretty bad. Let's deal with his first comment. His first comment is that this is somehow wrong because it's not popular opinion. Let me play that first comment again.
We are in a constitutional crisis. The United States Supreme Court has made clear time and time again that it will not rule in the will of the vast majority of Americans.
Okay. We're in a constitutional crisis because the Supreme Court is not ruling according to the will of the people. That's the opposite of the Constitution, right? The Constitution is what the Supreme Court is supposed to be protecting and defending, regardless. Oh, and to throw back to our conversation at the beginning of this video, irregardless of of the and you'll get that if you know if you knew us at all, you'd understand what we're saying here. But the point is, regardless of what the will of the American people is, the Supreme Court is to judge according to the Constitution. It is not a constitutional crisis that they judged according to the Constitution rather than based on popular vote. That is the opposite of constitutional crisis. If you knew law, you'd know that it's exactly what the Supreme Court's supposed to do.
Yeah, and it's not exactly that difficult. This guy reflects very well on Harvard's law program. But if you know anything about even the liberal justices, for example, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she knew this was not a good ruling, Roe v. Wade, and she knew it was going to destroy itself and eat itself because it was not constitutional. Words have meaning. I have this weird, bizarre belief that words do have meaning. If you're talking about a constitutional crisis, you're talking about people overruling the Constitution. That's, yes, something the Supreme Court can do, but in this case, they just said, no, that's not in the Constitution, therefore we can't uphold this ruling. The Supreme Court is not supposed to rule the land. They're not the supreme being. They're not the governing body. They are an interpreter of the Constitution. That's what they are there to do. If you wanted this whole, the rule of the American people, the will of the American people, which has zero bearing on the Supreme Court, it should have zero bearing. It does not matter if every single person on the planet wants them to rule in a particular way. If it's not constitutional, they ought not do it. That is what they are there for. If you wanted something different, you have to get the elected lawmakers to change things, to make an amendment, to do all of that. You have processes, checks and balances to go about it, but it's not the Supreme Court. This guy just thinks that constitutional crisis means they did a thing I didn't like because they overruled it and we're supposed to be pushing our policies. That it has nothing to do with a constitutional crisis or any malfunction of the system. This is how the system is actually designed.
Yeah. Jonathan?
Yeah, so this is the first, I think, of 2 times where he's going to mention that this is something that's vastly, unpopular, against the will of the people. In this entire Roe v. Wade thing, I think a lot of America's lost sight of the fact that we are not a democracy. We are a democratic republic. That means we have the rule of law. Just because a majority of people don't like the rule of law does not mean that we just can ignore the rule of law. That's not how this works. It's like Justin said. The Supreme Court looks at the Constitution and says, is this constitutional? Is it not? It has nothing to do with democracy in any way, shape, or form. The Supreme Court's not supposed to be influenced at all by democracy. That's not what it's about. That's not really what our country is about. Look, the democracy part of this, the democratic republic part of this is if you want the laws changed, you need to elect leaders that will change the laws. But the laws that we have on our books, especially the Constitution that was, input into our country at the very beginning, it shows that this is not a thing that was ever meant to be there. It's not something that is guaranteed by the Constitution, and therefore it was justly gotten rid of. And I think all of us would say that it should go further, that there is a constitutional right to life that the Supreme Court did not confirm, but I think that it should in the future. But absolutely, there's no constitutional right to abortion, and it needs to go away. There's nothing.
Yeah.
If you're a Harvard law student,
if you're worried about the will of the people, this should be a wonderful thing. If you really cared about the will of the people, because what all this ruling did was say it's going to the states, and the states' legislators, who they have democratically chosen, are going to choose what the law is for their state. I mean, this is wonderful if you care about the will of the people. Personally, I don't care about the will of the people when it comes to murdering babies. I really don't care if your state wants to have it. You shouldn't be allowed to murder babies, whether that's the will of the people or not. But if that's all you care about, this should be a wonderful thing if you knew the law at all.
Yeah, and real quick, just to help our viewers again, I'm constantly trying to make this point in various different ways to our viewers. This is why you shouldn't give two craps about credentialism. People stating their credentials, whether they're an expert in whatever field. Notice I don't spout off about what degree I have or awards or anything like that. I'm credentials don't mean anything because this
Yeah.
guy, I it would be really easy in a debate, cross-examination. Okay, Mr. Harvard law grad, you're saying this is a constitutional crisis. Please point to the place in the Constitution where they should have gone to derive from it that the Constitution guaranteed the right to an abortion. And don't point to emanations and penumbras like the Roe v. Wade decision. Take me to the Constitution and show me where. Because if not, then the way our system is designed, which clearly you know about because you went to Harvard Law, the way the system is designed is that they should overturn it whether you like it or not.
From now on, every time we say Harvard Law, we need to move our head in towards the camera like he did.
Well, that's the thing. Is like this guy's whole argument. If you want to know the weight of this video, is I went to Harvard.
Yeah.
That's the weight of this video.
Let me
He's
give
threw
you
out his credentials, and for people that compels, he wins, and for people it doesn't, he loses. That's it.
Let me go ahead and read that comment that he put, because this is I thought this was a description of the video. The description of the video was, "It's time we added more justices to the bench." His comment that I started reading earlier was actually a response to all of the negative comments that he got, which he should totally get. His comment was, "The court should be insulated from public opinion, but only to an extent." He didn't say "but only," but the "to an extent" is capitalized. The court should be insulated from public opinion to an extent. Wake up, people. This court is completely out of whack. Time for a change. So he's responding to the people who say the court's supposed to be insulated from public opinion. But he says they should be only to an extent. They should still rule according to public opinion. No, public opinion has nothing to do with the Supreme Court at all. Zero. Not
Talk
to an
about
extent.
a statement. Talk about a statement that has no meaning. They should be insulated from public opinion unless it's the public opinion I like. Come on, guys. Like, what are you trying
long
to
as
say
that
if
public
you say,
opinion
hang on,
agrees with
in this
me.
context, though, it's they should be insulated from public opinion, which means that the argument from the majority means nothing. To an extent means, okay, bring it back in. There's one or the other. You gotta pick one. Like,
Yeah.
you can't have both.
Yeah, logic's not this guy's best attribute. I think we can safely say that.
Justin, it's something that you and we've all, I think, talked about it, but you mentioned, I think, in our very last video about how a lot of times people say things confidently and we think, wow, that has weight. It doesn't. It doesn't matter how confident he is. It doesn't matter what kind of credentials he says he has. It doesn't actually make sense what he's saying. So we can dismiss it out of hand. And you don't,
and to be
me
fair,
saying
though,
I'm a pastor or you just say I graduated for whatever, it doesn't matter. None of that matters, right? What you need to do is listen to what we're saying and evaluate whether it makes sense.
Yeah, judge it on its merits. To be fair, though, I do understand if somebody thinks this guy is straight out of a horror movie with how he's talking. I totally understand. I watched a playthrough of The Quarry. If you think it's eerily similar to the opening scene, I get it. I kind of terrified he's going to wake up over my bed with a knife. That part I get, but just the confidence thing shouldn't convince you.
Mm-hmm. Justin Barnes,
Yeah.
he lives in Pennsylvania. You guys can look him up.
And to that point, not only just confidence, because that is a thing that seems to confuse people a lot if somebody says something in confidence, but as it relates to this specific debate, anything said with passion must also be, judged against facts. There's many people that are very, very, very passionate on the pro-abortion side, but that doesn't make them right.
Yeah.
In fact, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, apply that equally. There's a lot of people that are very passionate on the pro-life side. That doesn't make their arguments correct. Judge their arguments on the merit. We're all going to have different idioms, different idiosyncrasies, different ways of speaking, different ways of presenting our arguments. Judge it on the merits. Learn how to be a good judger of an argument.
Right.
Be very clear.
Absolutely.
We love to think that the Supreme Court and lawyers are some higher tier of human beings who are clear from
Who
bias
believes that?
and not politicians themselves. Well, I'm here to tell you, as a graduate from Harvard Law School, the same school that our Chief Justice went to law school at, all of that is BS.
That is super freaky. I'm sorry. Those of you who are listening on K-Star Conservative Radio Network and are not actually seeing the video, I apologize, because you've got to go to YouTube for this one, guys, and see the rebroadcast of the show on YouTube. where this is really freaky. This is definitely horror movie type stuff here. But here's the thing. He brings in the Harvard Law School as a way to show that he knows what he's talking about when he says that Supreme Court justices have biases. Everyone knows the Supreme Court justices have biases. That's why we care about who gets to appoint the next Supreme Court justice. That's why we say, oh, are they going to be conservative or liberal justices? Because we all know, everyone knows that they have biases. Nobody thinks that the Supreme Court justices are unbiased. Like, this is nonsense. As a matter of fact, the least biased justices are obviously the conservative ones because they sometimes rule against conservatism. Yeah. But you have to go to Harvard Law School to know that. So apparently my intelligence is now equal to that of a graduate from Harvard Law School. I can put that on my resume.
Yeah. Again, I'm happy to just leave it here with just, again, notice credentialism does not mean they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are human beings who know very well the consequences of their actions by making a decision one way or the other. They're appointed by political parties that know politically which side the justices lean on. And right now, because of very, very, very strategic cheating.
Okay.
Pause here. You got to pause there.
Notice the text above him. When he says cheating, he's saying the example is the filibuster of Merrick Garland and gerrymandering. Which those are two completely opposite things.
Well, no. Those are three different things: filibuster, Merrick Garland, and gerrymandering. He's trying to use three.
Right, okay.
He's trying to get.
I see that.
Now, granted, to be honest, this hurts my brain because you need to keep things in the same sort of way of listing them. So, you need to, like, filibuster is a category, Garland is a specific case. It's not a coherent way of grouping things together. But anyway, he's talking about three different things. Republicans currently are using the filibuster for certain things. They did not give a meeting to confirm Merrick Garland when Barack Obama was president. And then gerrymandering. Those are three categories. But by the way, what's interesting here is he's talking about Merrick Garland and says they know very well the consequences. They know these are political people. They know they're politicians, and they know what the consequences are if they get on the court and all that. Yes, that's why Merrick Garland. That's why. And that's why the Democrats tried to do the same thing with what's her face? The Catholic lady. I can't remember her name right off the top. Amy Coney Barrett. Because they understood the consequences. This is how it's always gone. And by the way, if we want to talk about the filibuster, the Democrats were the ones using it when the Republicans owned the House and Senate.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, if this guy's a graduate from Harvard Law School, he should know that these things are not cheating. Filibuster, delaying a candidate, and gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is sort of a divisive term, but redistricting. These are all things that happen and are legal. Otherwise, they would be under lawsuits for them. These are not cheating. This is standard operating practice here.
Yeah, none of this is cheating at all. And you want to say that the filibuster is cheating? You're going to see just how quickly the Democrats go back to wanting the filibuster in about 6 months, maybe a year, because the Republicans are probably going to take a lot more control over certain things. And they're going to be right back to being the ones that want to use the filibuster, which is why you have several Democrats that are never going to vote to end the filibuster because they're kind of forward thinking. They're like, yeah, we kind of need this.
The filibuster.
Gerrymandering both sides use. My state, Pennsylvania, decimated by Democrats gerrymandering districts right now. Kind of looking into those things now. We used to have very, very conservative leaning districts. Now we definitely don't, thanks to liberal control. So to try to say that's cheating, I mean, come on, it's actual law. You as a law student, as a graduate, should know this is not cheating. This is the way it is.
Yeah, and the filibuster, by the way, is actually a really, really good thing. It's there for a reason. It's supposed to stop Congress from passing so many laws. Like, that's a good thing. It's much better for Congress to do nothing than for them to pass a bad law. And Congress has passed a lot of really bad ones. So the idea of the filibuster is it's better for you to just do nothing if it's really that close.
And a little bit of historical trivia for you, if you would like to know. The longest filibuster in history was actually the Democrats, and that was filibustering the Civil Rights Act. So,
Oh, oh, ouch. Wow.
so you wanna debate that one, Mr. Harvard boy?
Now we are. See, that's information that's not allowed to be out. We're going to be fact checked on Facebook. We're going to be blocked from YouTube. Thanks a lot for actually reading truth on the air there, Justin.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how much more we can get to of this here.
Actions by one political party in our country over the past 20 to 30 years, you now have a Supreme Court that does not at all reflect the will of the American public.
Good.
Number 2.
Good.
Yeah, we've already said that.
That's good.
It's wonderful. By the way,
Which a Harvard grad surely is going to celebrate, right? Like, good. It looks like they've been unbiased, not swayed by the opinion of the people, right?
yeah, exactly. Right. Well, and don't forget that the reason that Supreme Court justices have lifelong terms is so that they will not have to worry about the American public. They don't have to be reelected. They don't have to be reconfirmed because they're supposed to be there completely unbiased. That's the point.
What is the result? The world is laughing at us.
Oh, they're laughing all right.
I do not care what the world does.
China invented TikTok so it could laugh at America. Okay, this is you are the reason the world is laughing at us.
It's a good place to pause too.
Oh man, this is I don't really care if the world is laughing at us for not killing babies. I say let them laugh. I don't care. I feel bad for them.
You know,
if they're laughing at us for not killing babies.
First of all, they're not laughing; they're raging. There's a difference. They're not
Psalm
looking
2.
at us. Yeah, they're raging. They're angry because we
they've
did
done in the
something
past
good. You'll
because of
find
these
this.
Ass
Okay, never
backwards.
mind. I was done. That's fine.
Sorry, I did it again. I did it again. Here we go. Let me bring us back
I
up here.
guess I was boring Josh. Okay, that's cool. No, what what I was saying, and by the way, what we're doing right here is actually what I was trying to get at. Is the Democrats, the left, the people the godless people, they don't have a good time. They can't laugh. They can't have joy. They can't. The joy of the Lord is not their strength. They don't have that happiness in them. It's why they're bitter, old, miserable people. Like, this is something that's actually true. That the world is not laughing at us. The people that I saw all over Twitter that I lost a great deal of respect for, some I never had any respect for anyway. But the people that were responding to this were not responding in laughter. They were responding in rage. They were mad because America was doing something to defy them, not something that was embarrassing. There's a difference. When America was at the height of its respectedness was when it was at its height of conformity to God's word.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's by design. God said back in Deuteronomy 4 that he gave his law to the people so that the nations around would look at Israel and say, what nation is there who has a God so wise that their law is that good? Mm-hmm. That was the whole point. If America wants to be respected and you want the world to actually respect America again, the way to get it is getting back to the Bible. And we can confirm that's how we were respected before. Yeah. So none of what he just said is true. But it's important to laugh
at us, as they've done in the past, because of these ass-backwards, outlandish policies that we pass here. Women.
You know, another thing here is they're raging at us from a position of ignorance as well, because you realize that our abortion policies up until then were far to the left of like Europe and most every other place. So all of these places like England and France, their policies are nowhere near as stringent as California's will continue to be. Yeah. So their rage is from a place of ignorance. Now, I believe we should be going way to the right of that. We should outlaw it completely, but that's not the case.
Yeah, and
these people are just dumb.
And here's the thing: I don't really care if our policies are backwards. I don't care if they're backwards or forwards or frontwards, inside out. I don't care. What I care about is whether or not they're right. You know, if going backwards helps us get back to something that's right, then let's go backwards. If we need to go forwards, you know, like, okay, well, yeah, there's slavery existed in the United States when it was first created, and then it didn't, you know, after the middle 1800s. Why? Because there was a civil war. We went forward, right? Do we need to go backwards in some areas? Yeah. Do we need to go forward in some areas? Sure. I don't really care if you call the policy backwards. You can call me, whatever you want to call me. It's right. That's all. That's the point.
You want to know what's really funny about that? If you asked them, what do we need to do? We need to go backwards to Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, that it's such a backwards policy, Roe v. Wade and abortion and all that kind of stuff.
And people of color will
That's
suffer.
what I just-
Women will
Why?
suffer. People
so
of
that
color
we can
will
bow
suffer.
down to religion.
First of all, people of color are suffering because abortion is disproportionately affecting people of color. So don't tell me that getting rid of Roe versus Wade is going to hurt people of color, is going to hurt women, because 50% of people killed in abortions are women or future women. They're girls.
And
Yeah, and us
disproportionately
horrible
minorities.
racists that would love to see a lot more black babies on Earth.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get to this last statement, because this I think we need to respond to.
False god of a belief that means nothing to the vast majority of people in my generation, but it means a lot to 70-year-old people in the South. We need change.
Okay, so our religion is a false. We're bowing down to the false god of a. Our religion is a false god of a belief of 70-year-old white men in the South. That's what he said. Our religion is a false god. We're bowing down to a religion that is a false god of a belief of 70-year-old white people in the South that means nothing to people of his generation. I'm not sure how old he is, but we're not that far out of his generation. The three of us, and we don't live in the South. And we don't worship our religion. That's not our God. This and besides that, even though God does say murder is wrong, do you really need God to tell you murder is wrong? Don't you have it written on your heart that murder is wrong? Like, does this really have to be a religious thing? Because I think it's pretty obvious that murder is wrong.
Jonathan, go or you're not getting in.
We got 2 minutes. We got to split this up quickly.
The first people that always bring religion into this debate are the Democrats, every single time. Now, I understand. Yes, ultimately, this is all about, everything is about God. Everything is about the Bible. That's the show. That's everything we do. But generally, when I talk about abortion, I don't have to drag that into it right away, because we're talking about murder. This is easy. This is not a difficult one. Most people, every single code of law says that murder is wrong. So I don't have to drag that in off the bat. They're the ones that have to do that.
Absolutely.
And,
Justin, 30
there's
seconds.
more, but let Justin go.
Yeah, so we're both trying to impose our religion on each other. This man has a religious system. He has an ultimate. He has a God that he serves, whether he calls it a God or not. He has an ultimate. We are dealing with competing religions. Fundamentally, that's what this is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Jonathan's right that we have laws against murder, but this religion says it's okay to redefine what murder is to only be murder that's convenient. Their God says that's okay. My God says it's not. We're both fighting over religious grounds here. There is no neutrality.
Absolutely right. It's all about your worldview, isn't it? Thanks for joining us today on Point of View. We'll see you next time.